Callahan. I'm the chairman of the Berkeley County Republican Party, and we want to start things off by introducing my vice chairman, Pastor Samuel Rivers, who will lead us in the opening prayer.
Father, we thank you for your grace, and we thank you for your truth, and we thank you for this great country. We pray for the very peace of the United States and the welfare. As it goes with the country, so it goes with the people. So we pray your blessings upon South Carolina. We ask you to touch our governor, lead her and guide us, and we thank you for this great Congressman Tim Scott, that you would continue to lead him and guide him and give him the wisdom in Jesus' name. Amen.
And I'd like to introduce Don McEwen, a.k.a. Joe's dad. Retired Gunnery Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, without further ado, I'd like to give a warm welcome to our congressman, and I'm proud to say that Daniel Island is currently in his district. And he is also the lead sponsor of the Protecting Jobs from Government Interference Act, which passed last week. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Tim Scott.
I was reminded of an opportunity that I had on Fox News the other day. And I was trying to say the word, well, stand still, right? I think y'all just love it. Let's do one of these little fast. And when you can't pronounce a word, the best thing to do, stop. I'm not that smart. So I tried again. I said, education. I said, education. And he's like, solution, resolution. Let me help you out. I went one more time. And yet, I still cannot say the word adjudication. I was so embarrassed. I'm just so glad I wasn't on defense because I can't turn red real easily. But I was red. I was so embarrassed, it was ridiculous. So let me just say that it is so good to be back at home, back where we can all say thank God for South Carolina, but it's really good to be on Daniel Island. This is an awesome place to be. I am very hopeful that after after the 2012 election that I will be the congressman for Daniel Island. Let me say that a little differently. I'm hoping that y'all will re-elect me as your congressman here on Daniel Island. That's what I really mean. I will tell you that the last 10 days since we've been back in session, we've been working very diligently on the notion of creating jobs. And the first place that we must start in job creation happens to be making sure that American workers keep their jobs that we have here in America. And the most important legislation in that direction happens to be the legislation that says to the NLRB, stop it. We have got to get to the place where we are sick and tired of being sick and tired of what the federal government is doing to us and not for us. The most important thing the federal government can do for us, take a step back, and then we can hear you just fine. I will tell you that the NLRB is starting to ask for placards on the walls of all companies telling them about unions. But they are no longer the unbiased referee as it relates to what's going on. They are now choosing a side. And we cannot have our federal government choosing a side, because when they choose a side, they start dictating winners and losers. And the American people will be the losers. Because here's what's happening. With a 15, we just increased the debt limit. You guys all know that, right? We got $2.4 trillion more to spend. How do you give $2.4 trillion more to a bunch of teenagers who couldn't control the first $14.4 trillion worth of spending? I don't understand that. Now we have a little bit more money to spend. So what do? We take taxpayer dollars that we're actually having to add 42 cents to the dollar in order to spend it. So we get 6.58 cents from the taxpayers. We get 42 cents from the next generation of unborn Americans and China. And we take that down dollar that's been depreciated because of the lack of sound money, and we sue America's private companies for baseless claims about challenges around the issue of labor. Not a single person has lost their job in Puget Sound, Washington State. Not one job has been lost because of the new plant, the Boeing plant in North Charleston. They've hired 2,000 more employees in Washington State so as to finish the work that they've begun. And at the exact same time, we now have 3 new lines of business happening, 3 new planes a month happening out of the North Charleston plant for the Boeing company. We find ourselves in a place where they say, you got to make it again in Washington. You've got to make it again in South Carolina. You've got to make it again in Texas. If our country does not start making things again, our economic future is very short. And so the federal government shows up and they say, you know what, we want you to make things again, but not here in North Charleston. I listened to my good friend, Mr. McGovern from Massachusetts, as I managed the floor for the Republicans. He managed the floor for the Democrats over the debate of this NLR bill that just passed. And he said to us, Mr. McGovern from Massachusetts, nice Democrat, he said, Boeing keeps shipping jobs overseas. I finally, after hearing it for the 3rd time, said, you do recognize that South Carolina is still a part of the United States of America. He had this bewildered look on his face. Like, really? I said to him again, South Carolina, although we are a right-to-work state, we are still a part of the union. As a matter of fact, the last time we started the war, we did pretty good. I'm glad we lost, you know what I'm saying? war, we're going to win it. And we are winning the war on labor. We are winning the war on making sure that Americans go back to get to work again. We are winning the war as it relates to our ability to make things in America. We have a niche, and we're protecting our niche, and we're going to use our court to get our business going again. And America will be strong, not because of the government. America will be strong because of the American people. We'll get there. And here's what I'm going to ask y'all to do. And Herman's almost here. You get to hear from the real godfather. That's pretty good. That's the first one I ever really good to know. I'm excited over there. Y'all can do it today. Here's what we have to do. I'm going to ask you to do a few things for us, for everyday Americans. The first thing is, our bill that passed through the House now has a very uncertain future in the Senate. I believe that we can change that. Whether we do it the first time, the second time, or the third time, because I'm not going to quit this fight until we win. We don't quit it. We don't quit it. So, here's what I'm asking you to do. Call the Democrat senators who happen to come from the South. Now, next year is an election. I've noticed that all my good friends on the left are starting to shoot a little bit to the right. Re-election coming up next year. 23 U.S. senators who happen to be Democrats are up for re-election. And they're seriously thinking about how to help themselves. I'm telling you what, if we call them and demand a vote on the floor, call Harry Reid and demand a vote on the floor, call them anyway, flood it until those lines are locked down. If we demand a vote on the floor, they tell me that every single Republican will vote for it. We only need 3 Democrats to get it across the line. We need 13, I think it is, to take a veto for it to get it past that 60 number. But if we do that, we find ourselves in the most amazing position where the President of the United States finally has to face the constituents of America on something as simple as regulation. And we must do it now. Because on January the 20th or so, 2013, we're going to have a new president. So, let's go to the dance right now. Because once either Herman Cain or Michelle Bachmann, Rick Perry, Mitt Romney, even Charm Altman, if Charm Altman gets to be our president of the United States, we're going to have a new president. What y'all think I'm going to say? Let me take the jacket off here. I'm getting kind of restless out there. Let me tell you, I am completely convinced, though, if we do that, we'll find ourselves in a very positive position. There's no doubt about that. We have an opportunity to affect America. And I want this to be entertaining to some extent, because I really want to motivate people to do something when we leave here. And that one thing that we can do is attack the NLRB. And if we do it consistently, we will win. Once we get the attention of the American public, we win. They lose. And the they that loses is not the Republicans or the Democrats. How many of y'all are not interested in partisan politics if you're interested in the future of America? That's what we're fighting for. This is not a partisan battle. The guy who doesn't have a job doesn't care whether you have a Republican or a Democrat in the White House. He wants to know that he has someone who understands conservative values. Someone who understands that conservation means conserving who we are and what we represent. That means protecting our Constitution. It means allowing the free market to decide the future of this nation. Not government bureaucrats, not the regulators, but the American job creators. And if we do that, we will have a much, much better economy. Final point. Thank thank all three of y'all right there. Give those kids some candy and those keep clapping. So, final point on capitalism. This is a very important point. I wanted to share this with an audience. I talked about this a couple Thursdays ago in Goose Creek at a town hall meeting with the 912 and Patriots, my good friends. Israel has been paying attention to what we've been doing for the last 50 plus years. I was in Israel about 3 weeks ago. No, the government did not pay for it. So that's the answer to that. I like that part. So I was in Israel about 3 weeks ago, and I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to some everyday Israelis about what they're trying to do in their country. And here's what they told me. They said simply this: hang on to capitalism. Hang on to the notion that the people own everything. Couple that with faith. Restore a moral foundation. Because if you have a moral foundation in pursuit of capital, you have the combination that is necessary to save capitalism from itself. I thought that was important. What they taught me, what he taught me, was simply this: that the only beacon of light in this very dark world is found in the city on the hill. And the city on the hill that we are all looking for is America. And he told me very clearly that as a 21, 22-year-old, the one thing that I look forward to is having the opportunity to own my business. You see, Israel was founded and started in 1948 by Russian Jews who happened to be socialists. And since then, they have been working their way towards capitalism. And his greatest concern is that as he watches America, he sees us sliding back towards socialism. And he asked me, as an elected official, please hold on to allowing the people to determine the future of your country. Don't let the government get in the way. And I thought to myself, I had to go all the way to Israel to get a riveting message about capitalism, about having the people in charge of their future, about crisscrossing the country for one reason, because he believed that if folks like me would stand up strong and take the hits that are necessary to defend capitalism, that America could be the light in the midst of darkness. And that if we remain where we were, every other country can find its way to where we are. And Israel wants to lead the way. But they tell us that they absolutely need an example to follow. Making just no jokes about it. That between now and 2012, we have a serious opportunity. And here's what the left wants us to do. They want us to divide ourselves, the Patriots, the Tea Parties, the 912s, the Republican Party, and divide our base in so many small little pieces that you can't get anyone elected. But today, when you think about all those who are sponsoring the event today, it is a coalition of people who have the very same foundation, the foundation of conservatism. We are together in the world. I don't care who the person is, but when the Republican is nominated by the great state of South Carolina, we are going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that that candidate is our next president. And we have good news. I want to ask you one question. Is there a Godfather in the house? There you go. Save my child, man. I like it. I'm not from New York. I'm not taking anything else off. I thought I would take the time. The barber said, that's enough. I understand. Let me just say this. How many of y'all are excited to have the godfather, not of pizza, but of the business renaissance necessary in America in the house? I have talked too much. So, with a very short introduction, the man who was responsible for taking the Godfather's pizza chain from the brink of bankruptcy, and in 14 months, because of the American business renaissance, the Renaissance man took it to the highest level of profitability. Now that's an encouragement, because we got a guy in the White House who can't make pizza, but because of the economy. So, without further ado, let's hear about the 999 and Herman Cain.
Thank you. What a warm reception. Thanks for being here. Yes, I was running a little bit late. We were in Myrtle Beach, and they wouldn't let us go. They said we took pictures and did autographs, but we finally got here, and I'm delighted to see so many of you here today, because you could have been anywhere else rather than here, but you are here because you care about the future of this country. That's why you're here. That's why Tim gives up his Saturday. That's why he goes to Washington, D.C. and fights the Sharks every week. And that's why I'm here running for president of the United States, because I care about the future of this country. And we all know. How long you? Remember, I'm a Baptist preacher, so I can go to the We all know that the American dream is under attack. And the reason it is under attack is because we have become a nation of crises. We have an economic crisis. We've got an energy crisis. We've got an immigration crisis. We've got a foggy foreign policy crisis. We've got a national security crisis. We've got a moral crisis. And the worst crisis we have is a severe deficiency of leadership crisis. In my 5 minutes, I can talk about one of these crises and how I would fix it. You know, I love it that some of these other candidates that are running for the Republican nomination, they keep telling you what the problem is. Very few are telling you what their proposed solution is. There is an economic guiding principle that the president and a lot of people don't get. If you want the economy to grow, you must put fuel in the engine. And the engine is the business sector, not government. That's what they don't understand. The business sector. So here's my 999 plan to put fuel in the engine. Step 1, throw out the current tax code. Throw it out. It can't be tweaked. It can't be fixed. It can't be simplified. Throw it out and let's start all over with my 999 plan. A 9% business flat tax, a 9% personal flat tax, and a 9% national sales tax. Those three components added together would replace the payroll tax that's taken out of your check. That's 15.3%. Now you're down to 9. It'll replace the capital gains tax, which is the tax that stands between new ideas and new jobs. And it'll also replace the dreaded death tax, all with the 999. It is fairer, it levels the playing field, and it treats all businesses the same. Whether you're a subchapter S or whether you are a C Corp, it treats them all the same. And then there are no debates over who gets loopholes and who does not. And it gets the government out of the business of trying to pick winners and losers. And with Solandra, we know how good they are at picking losers. It's not their job. So if my staff is doing their job, they have some of these brochures talking about my economic vision. It's got the 999 described in there, and I like to take a look at it. It's starting to get legs, as they say. And here's why. It's simple to understand. When I talk to skeptics inside Washington, D.C., not him, he's not one of the skeptics. They're one of the good guys. Last week, when I talk to the skeptics, they say, well, that sounds all nice and all cute, but we'll never get that passed in Washington, D.C. So I go, well, why don't you think I can get that passed? They said, well, Mr. Cain, you don't know how Washington works. I said, yes, I do. It doesn't. So why do I want to learn how it doesn't work? But the reason that I'll be able to get this passed is because of you. Senator Eric Dirksen popularized the phrase, when they feel the heat, they will see the light. My job and Tim's job is to put the legislation out there, and you be the heat to put pressure on the Congress. That's how we're going to get it passed and get this economy growing again. You be the heat. And the other thing that I'll do, Congressman Scott and I have this in common. I will ask Congress to send me legislation that is easy to understand by the American public. I was given a speech an hour, and I jokingly said, I'm not going to do a 2,700-page bill. I'm only going to do legislation that's maybe 3 pages long. Jon Stewart, the nighttime comedian, he had a field day with that. Now, the people in the audience got the joke. Jon Stewart is a professional comedian, and he did get the joke. So he was basically criticizing me for days on his show about something's wrong with this man. Well, you know, there's a lot to be said for simplicity. And I would like to share with you, if you haven't heard about H.R. 2587, introduced by Congressman Tim Scott. Because they don't want you to know what's going on. Well, that's what's going to be different with the Cain presidency. I want you to know what's going on, and I want you to be able to understand it. So that's my 999. No, I will not be introducing legislation that the people can't decipher or understand. You all know what it is your federal government is trying to do to you. And so far, they have done a lot of stuff to us, and we don't know what it is until way after. So I want to thank you for those opening remarks, and I think Tim is going to give me an opportunity to do some closing remarks later after we do Q&A. But let me say again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to thank you, Congressman Scott for the opportunity.
I tried my very best to stick with the time frame. This will be done by 1:20, and with your permission, it's already 10 till 1. If you mind, we squeeze about 1:30. That'll be with y'all. Opportunities as possible to answer as many of your questions as possible. So now I will shut up and start reading questions. Kathy Tyler, are you here? Hey, Kathy. Hey, Kathy. There you are. Thank you for your question. Kathy's question is, Obama is basically implementing the DREAM Act without Congress oversight, congressional oversight. Will you stop this practice, and what are your plans for granting amnesty to illegals?
I respect the United States Congress, and it is the job and duty of the President to work with the United States Congress, not ignore the United States Congress. And secondly, the DREAM Act that I would support is the one called the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And in terms of granting amnesty, we don't need amnesty. My approach to immigration is fourfold. I believe that we got to make sure that we're working on the right problem. The reason that he's trying to push through this quote-unquote DREAM Act has to do with the fact he's trying to pander to Hispanics and illegals in this country. The legal Hispanics in this country don't want to be pandered to. They want jobs and opportunities just like everybody else. So here's my approach to the immigration problem. Number one, there's 4 parts. One of the things you'll hear me talk a lot about is making sure that we work on the right problems. Immigration is 4 problems. Number one, let's secure the border for real. Stop talking about it. For real. Number 2, promote the path to citizenship. That gets to your question. Promote the path to citizenship that's already there. We need to clean up the bureaucracy, but promote the current path to citizenship. Thirdly, enforce the laws, the immigration laws that are already there. We don't need new ones. Then the 4th one, none of the other candidates have started to say this yet. But I noticed that they're starting to pick up a lot of my answers, Tim, but I guess that's politics. Number 4, how do we enforce the laws that are already there? How do we deal with the illegals that are in this country? Empower the states to do what the federal government is not doing and will not do and can't do.
Michael Eastler. Michael, thank you for your question. People say government cannot be run like a business. As a successful businessman, what's your take on that?
The reason we're in such a big mess is because it has not been run like a business. And my take is it can be run like a business. And all that means is make sure you're working on the right problem. Make sure you surround yourself with the right people. And then put together the right plans because you got smart people around you that you execute in order to solve the problem. Now, you're going to tell me that you shouldn't be doing that in government? I don't think so. That's what's wrong with government. Too often, they're not working on the right problem. The biggest example is Obamacare. If you want to bring down costs and increase access, pass patient-centered, market-driven solution, not another big government bureaucracy. That's the wrong problem. And here's another example of how you can use business-like principles in order to be able to run a governmental entity. I visited with Governor Mitch Daniels in Indiana recently. He has turned that state around. And that state is now balancing its budget. Its economy is growing. Because he was a businessman before he got into that job. And he's using business-like principles, such as, for every department within the state government, he has developed performance metrics. What a novel idea. Metrics, along with a clear identification of what their goals should be. And I happen to believe that we can do that with every federal agency, if you have the right president, make sure that we identify performance metrics and we apply those business-like principles of making sure you're working on the right problem, surrounding yourself with the right people, and then putting together the right plans and get the American people behind those plans. Thanks, sir.
Kick your shoes off a little bit. Take a little time here. Elaine. Our next question comes from Elaine. Everybody likes Elaine, good. Okay, good. Basically speaking, the Department of Energy was started by Jimmy Carter. It's been an abysmal failure. What would you do as president to stop that waste of money?
What would I do as president to stop that waste of money called the Energy Department? The first thing that I would do is develop an energy independence strategy for the United States of America, because we have the resources to become energy independent. The way I would deal with the Energy Department and the EPA and every federal agency is that I would be appointing for every agency a regulatory reduction commission. A regulatory reduction commission. And in the case of the EPA, by the time they get through identifying all of the reductions, there might not be anything left. I don't know yet. Just maybe.
David, point of view. Thank you for the question. Someone once said that Social Security was a Ponzi scheme. The question is, what do you think and how would you fix it?
Remember my statement about make sure you're working on the right problem? I don't care what you call it, let's fix it. Here's my solution. I believe that, first of all, seniors on Social Security, you will not be touched. So don't worry with the proposal I'm about to propose. You're not going to be touched. Seniors that are near Social Security, you'll still be able to get the benefits that have been promised to you. I believe in a system that was used in Galveston County, Texas, that was implemented in 1981. It's also the same system that's used for the small country of Chile. It is a personal retirement account system where younger workers will take half of their Social Security contributions and continue to contribute it to the Social Security system for those people that want to stay on the current system. They will be able to take the other half of their Social Security contribution and put it in an individual retirement account. I didn't say privatized. That's how the media tries to demagogue the idea. It's a personal account with their name on it. It acts just like a 401k, but that's where you put your retirement dollars. The country of Chile did this nearly 30 years ago. They had a Social Security structure very similar to ours. And they finally decided they couldn't go on with the insanity. And if we don't restructure ours, we're going to end up doing the same thing. When they finally said enough is enough, the worker was being taxed 27 cents on every dollar that they earned. They were given the option to go to the personal retirement account option, where half of their contribution would still support those on Social Security. The other half would go into their individual retirement account. Today, in the country of Chile, when people retire, it's their money, and they retire, on average, 50% more than our Social Security recipients receive today from Social Security. So a personal retirement account system is the solution to fixing Social Security. I don't care what you call it. Now let me make one other point. Some people will say, well, George Bush tried that in 2003 and could not get the idea passed. There were two reasons as to why he couldn't get the idea passed. Number one, he was not a good salesman of the idea. I'm not George Bush, with all due respect. I'm going to sell the idea and explain it to the American people. And number two, many of the Republicans in Congress didn't understand the idea, and they didn't help him. It gets back to making sure that my Republican colleagues in Congress understand it so they can also become ambassadors for you. We need to restructure Social Security, not keep trimming around the edges.
Thank you for your question, Gene. Where do you stand on the Second Amendment?
The Founding Fathers got it right when they said we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these, focus on that among these, are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when they said among these, I happen to believe that some of the others that they were referring to was the right to protect yourself, the right to protect your family, and the right to protect your property, and I call that the Second Amendment. Leave the Second Amendment alone.
Cain Gilbert in the back. All right, thank you. Considering your experience with the Fed, what would you do, if anything, about the power the Fed has, specifically concerning their helping Greece, Europe, financially?
First of all, I believe that we can fix the Fed. I don't believe we need to end the Fed. I served on the board of the Federal Reserve in the 1990s. We never had to deal with a $14 trillion deficit. We never had to deal with the inflation of our dollar the way they're dealing today. And the reason that the Fed's powers have gotten out of hand is because they have been given the authority to try to control monetary policy and control unemployment. And that's like having one arrow and two targets. When the Fed first started, they had one mission. And I believe the way you fix the Fed is that you go back to the original mission, which is just focus on stabilizing our dollar. Secondly, you bring down the national debt. The way you bring down the national debt, so they won't be forced or they won't be tempted to inflate our dollar so much. You bring down that by making sure you boost this economy. That gets back to my 999 plan. If at the same time we have a robust economy that's growing at 4, 5, or 6%, and we have a serious debt reduction plan, then the issue of inflating the dollar won't be an issue. Fix the Fed, not end the Fed.
Kevin Alford. Since your 999 plan includes both a national sales tax as well as an income tax, what would prevent the government from going wild and doubling?
And we know they can go wild. I'm going to ask Congressman Scott and the other sponsors of the bill to put in a requirement that you have to have 2/3 vote of the United States Senate before you can change the 999 plan. 2/3 super majority before you can make a change. What that does is that the American people are going to know about it because it's going to require that 2/3 vote. And it also means that not a lot of senators are going to cavalierly want to change the 999. The other thing is, the reason that they would be tempted to change it is that we have not gotten spending under control. I fully intend to get spending under control. Here's how I'm going to do it. In business, when I have had to take over a new company, and they were about to go bankrupt. The first thing I did was an across-the-board cut in all the departments. The second thing I did was went into each department. In this case, I would sit down with my agency head and do the hard, the heavy lifting of drilling down and identifying programs that are outdated, inefficient, not needed, wasteful. You hear all the time that there's plenty of wasteful spending in Washington, D.C. Why don't they ever cut it out? Here's why. 535 members of Congress are never going to agree with the cut because it might be one of their colleagues that they owe a favor to. I am the only person running for the Republican nomination that has never held a high public office, so I have no favors to return. Everything will be on the chopping block. Is how we're going to be able to get costs and spending under control.
I missed that last one. Chris Vieira? Is that right, Vieira? Yes, sir. Okay. China has been causing all kinds of problems, from hacking the Pentagon computers to building up their military, stealing things from a military perspective. What do you think? What are you going to do when you think about Chinese military threat?
There are two things that we need to do. There's actually more than two, but the two principal things that we need to do is first, outgrow China economically. They are growing at a 10% rate. It's estimated that our GDP growth this year is only going to be around 1.4%, if that. That's anemic. We must, this is why, get back to the 999 plan, boost this economy. If we outgrow China, we won't have to look back. Secondly, I will reverse the President Obama's decision to begin to cut our military and enhance our military because the world is not safer. The world is not safer. The missile defense system that the President canceled in Turkey, if it's not too late, it might be too late. We need to enhance that missile defense system. We have the best ballistic missile defense system in the world, both land-based and sea-based. I used to work for the Department of the Navy as a ballistic sounders, so I'm familiar with some of these capabilities. For very little money, we can enhance and upgrade our sea-based ballistic missile system where we can place them strategically anywhere in the world such that even if Ahmadinejad was able to launch a nuclear weapon, we could detect it on takeoff. Right now, we can't detect it on takeoff because this administration won't allow the money to be built to upgrade our sea-based Aegis systems. This is how we need to do that. Secondly, we use these same systems to make sure that we stay in China's backyard as they get further down the road. In other words, I believe in the Reagan doctrine. Peace through strength. Strength of military.
Sydney Master. Sydney, thank you, Sydney. How do you resolve the debt issue? Raising the debt ceiling is not the answer.
I agree. Raising the debt ceiling was not the answer. They simply did not want to make the hard choices of what to cut. Reducing the rate of growth is not a cut. That's not a cut. And I remain outspoken against raising the debt ceiling. They needed to get serious about the cuts. Here's some places they could have cut that you didn't even hear on the table. The federal payroll. Why not furlough some folks? A lot of businesses are laying people off because they have to in order to stay in business. You didn't hear one proposal about reducing the number of headcount in the federal government. That's why I would have started. And I would have looked at individual agencies and identified programs that we needed to either eliminate or suspend altogether. The Government Accounting Office does an annual report of waste and abuse in the federal agencies, but no one ever does anything about it. And so my approach would be to get serious about it in every agency and work back to spending within our means. And yes, I do support a balanced budget amendment.